Ministers of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. So I'd like to encourage you to stick and stay as us bringing full coverage of this press briefing.
Let me again welcome you and thank you for coming to the Charles Press Club, where our regular press briefing takes place. This afternoon, I'd like to recognize the Deputy Minister for Administration, Honorable Kaba, the Assistant Minister for Technical Services, Honorable Paul, Daniel Sambo, and the arrowhead of the ministry, the Chief Administrator, Honorable Limik Mafukia. This afternoon, I'd like to inform you that the Minister of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism in the Olympic Mafukia will address today's press briefing. The Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs, the Deputy Spokesperson will come and make a welcome statement, after which we will officially invite the Chief Administrator of the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism on the national podium. I have the distinguished honor to invite my boss, Daniel Sambo, who will mount the national podium.
So that was the voice of Lawrence M. Family. He's the acting 16th Minister of Information Services. Next is Honorable Daniel Otesano, Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs.
Ladies and gentlemen of the press, good afternoon to distinguished members of the senior management team of the Ministry of Information. Let me say a pleasant good afternoon to the events who are following this edition of the MICAT regular press briefing across the country via radio stations and social media feeds. It's always a pleasure to have all of you here and out at the Ministry of Information to cover your press briefing. And as we promise the year 2025, the Ministry is working with government ministries and agencies to collate progress that they made from various sectors of the country. So that process is long, and to some extent, or greater extent, lacks ministries, agencies, and government authority. We are receiving those reports via email. Some have been sent physically to the ministry. We need them so that we can be able to catalog progress that the government has made over the last 2 years, so that our adherents who are far in the year can be appointed to the progressive trajectory of the country. Even for some of the people who are doubting promises, who will say that nothing has changed, even though the writings on the wall are clear for even the blind man to see that the country is on a irreversible path of progress and development. These updates from various ministries and agencies will help to guide the national conversation. We do so because we have a duty to communicate on behalf of the government. We also do so because we live in challenging times where people who used to be in charge of leadership of the country yesterday have now taken on for themselves the new role of being agents of bad news. Every day they are very punctual in communicating negativity. So when we have this information, we can effectively communicate with the public, and everybody can know the things that have been achieved by the government headed by His Excellency President Joseph Mkwai. We are grateful leadership that we have that is over the country. We're leading the country from nowhere to somewhere. And in just 1 or 2 years, Liberians are being convinced that indeed the dividend of democracy is being realized. And across every sector, you can see that for yourself. And so, as a spokesman of the government, we have a duty. Keep this press conference going, make it more attractive. This is what the government of Liberia speaks from. All of you who come here to cover this press conference, we appreciate your time and the commitment that you give to the work that you do here. With that being said, today's press conference, the chief spokesperson of the government is the sole speaker. He has a dossier of information to release to you on the accomplishment of the Liberian government. He will do so extensively. You know, the minister is a man of massive verbal persuasion. So when you speak, you will always be ready to entertain questions and members of the floor can speak. To provide further clarity on issues or areas where there will be doubt. So you entertain your questions after the presentation, then we'll provide answers to the questions. That is the scope of the press conference today. So I would now want to encourage all of you to please, the time for the press conference is 12 o'clock. Maybe we'll have 5 to 10 minutes delay. All of you are responsible. It is very much of comfort to be calling you to order every day. Your views entered this century to represent them. The scene where you can see President Donald Trump interacting with the journalists at the White House, the scene where you are here. So you have to take the work seriously. You can't come on a national platform where the whole country is listening to your phone, speaking Chinese, also draconian sound to cause distraction. It's now welcoming. So please turn those phones on silent. As announced there on the existing protocols for invite our distinguished minister to the microphone.
So we just listened to Honorable Daniel Otesano, he's the Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs. This is Honorable Jeremy Matthew Pierre, Ministers of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. So once again, if you are just joining us, I would like to say welcome. This is ELBC 99.9 FM.
It's so distracting I know there are some natural causes that you can control. Somebody will use it and all of that. But I think let's say how to why the press conference just getting so and it started out if you go to conferences, for example, you want to be seated before people come. You don't wait press conference to try and you're opening door before the people you're opening. We'll talk about it, what down. That would be very what I want. So the disruption starts between those of you who are here. There should be a core of the press conference going on. I really believe the movement is too much. There we understand once of last night getting out because it was a battle. There's no more the thinking process that when you get into it, whatever you get into it, we don't have to go into the plan of paper. But if the reason why most of you go to last night is to use the bathroom, and if you don't go down, but they use it. If they're here, you know. So yesterday I took time off to visit the premises of the Liberia Broadcasting System as chair of the board of directors. We have followed the news with allegations that many different things are happening at LBS. One of them being the fact that they're running a casino, quote unquote. As a board, we are an issue. But like I said, we visited yesterday. And we can say that there is no such thing at LBS called casino. So that allegation is incorrect. We didn't go there just for that. We also wanted to inspect the huge projects that have been taking place there with regards to the new broadcast complex that will host radio and television. And we are exceedingly pleased to note that that project has progressed so impressively, and it is at the point of getting the finishing touches done so that the Liberia Broadcasting System operates on a new broadcast complex. Something we hope will enhance operational efficiency, provide comfort for the employees of the system, thereby impacting their work habits and productivity. We will continue to thank the government of the People's Republic of China, not just for the LES initiative, but everything that they're doing for us. Right now, you notice the overpass has commenced and is moving very progressively. The reference laboratory construction has also advanced impressively. And so we're glad we have the ministerial complex that accommodates multiple government institutions. We have in the middle of the forest in our county a major hospital that is servicing people from maybe the Cote d'Ivoire, Guinea, and other places, all marks of the People's Republic of China. So having toured LBS yesterday and seeing the work being done on the broadcast complex, we can only continue to say to the government of the People's Republic of China that we are grateful. The string that rain is still falling and falling heavily in your different communities again. Maybe up to today, this morning, really as though we are not in November. These are all marks of climate change. And they are having some impact on our development initiative because we are set and ready to initiate massive infrastructure activities across the country, mainly in the area of growth. The fact that the rain continues at the rate it is a problem, but that has not stopped beginning process from the lower level. So currently, places around the city where there are potholes and other beaches across the street, the repair process for those are ongoing as we speak currently. If you just walk down the road past the Ministry of Mines and close to Lucifer building on your right there, you see that a huge portion of that road was almost non-existent. It's been corrected. I moved around the other day on SKD Boulevard. I met parts that were not good at being restructured. And so those kinds of work are ongoing while we look forward to the big one. I want the rain to give us a chance. So the better initiatives are on course. There is ILEC, the Ministry of Public Work on the LERC initiative is expanding streetlights across the city. It's now going to places that go community, Claratown, Jamaica Road, Momotown, Banjo, just everywhere we have streets and Liberians living. Those lighting projects will expand there. And the last time I spoke here, I made reference to my own community that I have not seen in the city for the last 35 to 14 years. All of the little streets in that part of our country now got streetlights. When I used to arrive home around 11 o'clock, you will see nothing but utter darkness and hardly find anyone being on the street. And the street lights were deployed right at the junction before bending into where I live. Some of the young people immediately came and erected a little shop where they do tea, bread, and many stuff. And now when I'm going home, the very place I used to reach 11 o'clock and no human being is outside in utter darkness. When I'm passing by even 1 a.m., folks are assembled on that place, still doing business. That's what electricity does. The folks who are doing that now, they have a sense of livelihood. Somebody can wake up and say, even up to 12, 10 or so, they can say, oh yeah, I think the posteriors are going to buy tea and bread. Just months ago, they couldn't do it because of the lack of electricity, utter darkness. So we're glad that electricity expansion is taking place. The next phase of the work that they are on there now is to do host-to-host connection. For example, I lived there since 2011. And since 2011, every night I go to bed, about the children product of sleep with generator on. You can think about that. If you put it to the bare minimum, depending on the cost of the petroleum product, you put it to $15 per night. And you multiply that by the number of days in the month. You know what that is. With direct connection, that case will be different. You put your money in your meter, just what you can use, and the current available for you. That is progress. On 2 years of the new administration. And we'll continue to make progress as we move on. Especially so now that in a historic way, we've moved our budget beyond $1 billion. That was a campaign message for some of the contenders in the election. That we should make them president. And the promise was that they would take our budget to $1 billion. the sole reason why we wanted power. But we knew that we would do it. So we've done it not just reaching the 1 billion mark, we've done it at a 1.2 billion level. We take note of all the criticisms because that's why the democracy comes from. All the different people who got different thoughts and thinkings about what the budget is, why they will do, why they will not do it. We want to say we brought it. But we are intentional as a government and very deliberate about what we thought we're doing. And we know also that the final judgment on what the budget is does not rest with us. What becomes an instrument called a budget that is deliberated upon starts from us. But what it finally becomes is constitutionally given to another branch of government as a check and balance system that have been created. So the budget is now before the national legislature. With also some political institutions that have problems with what they say is of the budget, say, we'll take the budget back. And we're wondering how come they don't know that even if you have things that you basically way the budget, it is where it is, and those who now have it are the ones who got constitutional authority to fix it. And if you are a political party that was in governance yesterday, and you don't know that, and say because of the observations you have to take the budget back, then we're constrained to remind them not only of what the law calls for, but what happens under their own eyes and nose. We're questioning the debt situation as reflected in the budget. When you took 83 million from the reserve just to pay civil salary, something that should not have been done. And it's becoming appalling that every reaction to what other people will do is considered attack. I was reading the front page of Africa this morning, and their reaction to our statement signed by the Minister Sando was that we spent time on several lines in the reaction attacking rather than addressing the issue of the national people. If every disagreement with what you say, if every correction to what you say that is not true is considered an attack, then you don't belong in the political space, because that's too much unnecessary wolf crime. You can be in a political space and all you do is just cry. Everything people say, you call it attack, you call it insult, you call it this, you call it that. Then politics is not your place. Found a church house or a mosque to be a preacher there. But in this space, the wolf crying does not do the trick. It's a healthy conversation that enhances democracy, and we should live with it. So we just provided some correction to say, oh, these things you say are not true, they're not right, this is why it should be, this is why it should be. It doesn't work, because when you issue those kinds of comments that we saw from them, and nothing is said, especially so if it's impugned with misinformation, then we allow misinformation to sink in the pocket. And that will also mean that we're not doing our work. Just think about it. Somebody submits a budget on behalf of the government. You got concerns about what the budget is. And the person who wants to be president says, arrest the people who submitted that budget. How? Why is that? And they giving us a signal that after we give them political power, that what they will do arbitrary arrest for things that may not call for the arrest? And when you say something about it, somebody will say, oh, it's not a time. I'm a podium here. So drink water is my responsibility. Each of you sit down where we drink and you feel thirsty. But somebody is worried that we have better food, not drinking water. The water, how about it? If we want to bring it, I have business. So these kinds of triviality that people run with, they are becoming concerning, especially for people who crave it to be leaders at the highest level of our country. I'm just afraid of what kind of Liberia that we have when the executive mansion, the Capitol building, the Temple of Justice, ministries and agencies will all be turned into fast-style hotels. So we frame on the budget, the budget has been submitted, the government has done, the executive has done its part. It's not in the hands of the people's deputies. And when they do their part, it comes back to a point where the president has an authority. Because he now can sign the budget. He can refuse to sign it and veto it. It goes back. Both forces, conference committee, etc., etc. Again, we found a solution, but again, we've done our part in the land before the legislatures of Liberia. So you all are aware that the Ministry of Public Works have laid out a new date for the completion of the RIA road. We said it the other day, they were going to be on the side. So you can hold us by it. So when it doesn't happen, you say, oh, these people can laugh, but they told they all going to happen, this what happened. 2027 ending. The truth is, the road will actually finish long before that time. But in engineering terms, they have a period that is normally provided for what they call default liability. That's the time you use to just evaluate what has been done on your behalf, identify mistakes and errors and whatever it is, and then they have some time to correct them. And when they do so, you go by and review, everybody believe that everything that's supposed to be done has been done, and you declare that the project is complete. In the thinking of the Ministry of Public Works, all of that can be taken care of within that period, leading towards the end of 2027. Of course, we mentioned to you also the other day about what will be happening from Bangladesh, from Banjama, from Nkoma coming our way, what will be happening from Ikano to Seston Junction, which is the beginning of a landmark intervention that will start the process of building a coastal highway. We call it coastal highway because it's a road that will run from coast to coast, taking into consideration the coastal counties. Basel is one, Riverside is one, San Blue, all these are coastal counties. So the road leading along that corridor to link you to the final place, it can be referred to as coastal highway. So when you have a coastal highway, that's what it means. And in a real substantive way, this government is commencing that. With the first part of the road that will start from Kano City to Seston Junction. Seston is in Riverside County. And those kinds of corridors are worked on as we want to. They will enhance economic and social development in that region of the country. They will improve access to services facilitate trade and can ensure that such areas will become agricultural hubs so that we can be self-sufficient in food production as a nation. We also have secured funding for the entire 380 kilometers that runs from Danta to Fishtown in Republic County and beginning this dry season. The pavement will commence. More so, the government has contracted 4 companies, and by the next dry season, pavement across the entire southeastern corridor will be on track, and that will make the entire southeastern region of the country fully connected to the nation's capital. The Ministry of Internal Affairs has initiated a conference of chiefs which starts today, and it will run for 3 days. The President is expected to join them eventually tomorrow. That gathering is expected to be one of the largest assemblies chiefs in recent years, and they will aim to strengthen collaboration between the national leadership of the country and our traditional governance system. It is a partnership that has been described as being long overdue, but it's essential for national renewal. There will be about 287 paramount chiefs across the 15 counties. In addition to 150 clan chiefs, alongside tribal governors representing all of the tribes in Liberia. That conference has been held on a team bringing us together, and that echoes the President's desire to unite the country through dialogue, reconciliation, and shared cultural values. While there, the President will hold open consultations where chiefs can present grievances, hopeful recommendations, and local developmental priorities. We will hold a special dinner for the President eventually. Around Bassa County, particularly Buchanan, the county of my origin, is designated for up to 300 megawatts power plant. And in that light, a high-profile delegation comprising government officials, senior executives of the Liberia Electricity Corporation, and international energy investors are currently conducting a comprehensive site assessment inquiry to get up to this facility. The mission forms part of an ongoing exploratory efforts for a proposed 150 to 300 megawatt gas power plant, a project poised to transform Liberia's energy landscape and enhance regional power integration. If implemented, it will supplement IEC's drive for reliable, accessible, and sustainable power supply to our Liberia. As you may all be aware, the National Road Fund, for the first time, called it revenue up to 31 billion for a year, single year, the highest in the history of that entity. This milestone achievement was announced as the country opened the 27th General Assembly of African Road Maintenance Fund Association in Monrovia. The road fund manager, Josita Newell-Winton, highlighted renewed focus on road development, transparency, and innovative financing. Liberia's own development plan includes over 1,000 kilometers of roads and advancing regional connectivity to Freetown, Abidjan, and Conakry. 2 new mechanisms for the Ministry of Transport and Access Road Control Power raised 70,000 in just 4 months. And an escrow-based revenue collection system is established as well. Delegates from several African countries are attending the conference. In a significant step towards enhancing regional security, the government of Liberia, through the National Police, and the government of Sierra Leone, through the Sierra Leone National Police, have signed a memorandum of understanding to deepen security cooperation across the Monrovia region. The MOU establishes a framework for cross-border collaboration, focusing on intelligence sharing, joint training initiatives, and coordinated operations to combat transnational crimes such as human and drug trafficking. The agreement aims to strengthen law enforcement agencies' own capacity to protect the citizens in both countries, prevent crimes, maintain stability, and promote regional peace. By forging this partnership, Liberia and Sierra Leone reaffirmed their commitment to building a safer, more resilient communities and tackling shared security challenges. The Civil Service Agency, CSA, on Wednesday, November 19, commissioned the first batch of onboarding teams to begin onboarding civil servants onto the legal power of an attorney platform, formerly known as Liberia Day After. In one of the exercise commenced at the EJL Ministerial Complex, targeting the first group of 5 ministries and agencies, to include the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, the Ministry of Labor, the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Commerce, as well as the Civil Service Agency itself. The onboarding teams are expected to continue the process at their different institutions through the end of the week, with additional ministries and agencies scheduled to be involved. Liberia gets a regional vote of confidence with regards to anti-money laundering. The Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa is convening its 44th Technical Commission and plenary meeting in Monrovia. That meeting started. President Waka provided a keynote address this morning. That meeting, which is held twice a year, is a major gathering of stakeholders in a fight against money laundering and terrorist financing. It aims to promote discussion among technical experts from member states in West Africa on the threats and challenges relating to the fight against economic and financial crimes in the sub-region. It also allows us to address relevant issues that require a concerted and harmonized approach to the effective implementation of anti-money laundering and combating of financial terrorism measures. The discussion will focus on follow-up reports for the second round of mutual evaluation of member states, including Mali, Niger, Guinea, and Sierra Leone. Also, on the agenda of the 44th Technical Commission and plenary meeting is the closed-door regional forum of Financial Intelligence Unit, a special session led by the United Nations Office of Counterterrorism of the United Nations Counterterrorism Center, the election of the Bureau of the Presidency of the Technical Commission, the Director General Summary Activity Report, among others. The United Nations Development Program, the UNDP, is finalizing an agreement with the University of Liberia to introduce Liberia's first ever master degree program in artificial intelligence to be offered at the University of Liberia. The landmark collaboration to introduce the master degree program followed the signing of a standard letter of agreement between the UL and the UNDP in August of this year, marking the commencement of a transformative partnership aimed at promoting innovation, technology, and strategic development in Liberia. The program aims to equip students with advanced digital skills and position Liberia as a leader in regional digital transformation. Additionally, the partnership will establish an innovative center at the UL Federal Campus, expanding on the successful UNIPO initiative to create a valid hub for creativity and technological advancement. The World Bank Country Office has released a 6th edition of its annual Liberia Economic Update titled From Stabilization to Inclusion, a pathway to resilient growth and productive jobs. The report, focusing on Liberia's recent economic development with significant improvements, analyzed the status of the private sector and how it can be strengthened to deliver productive jobs. The Liberia Economic Update is a World Bank report series produced once a year that assesses recent economic and social development and prospects considering global and medium-term context. It examines and sheds light on the emerging and selected policy issues and medium-term development challenges facing Liberia. The LWSSC, the Liberia Water Seaward Corporation, has started massive rehabilitation works to restore pipe and sustainable water access in Zwedru, Playboy, and Greenville City. These are cities that saw pipe water since 1990. They are faced severe water supply challenges due to the non-existence of water infrastructure, coupled with population growth and unreliable urbanization. With funding from the government of Liberia sourced on the REST agenda, LWSC is doing a comprehensive rehabilitation and expansion of the water supply system, integrating solar power solutions in the cities, and ensuring sustainable, reliable, and safe water access, directly supporting public health, economic productivity, and rural urban development. The project will modernize the existing water infrastructure in Swedru and Greenville and construct new water supply system in Pleasant. The project, when completed, will serve over 30,000 residents, commercial and institutional users, securing up to 60,000 by 2035. It will also reduce waterborne diseases and boost economic productiveness in the region. In Swedru, the water supply rehabilitation aims to restore 10.18 kilometers of damaged wetlands, reconnect over 600 hospitals and 100 new connections, replace vandalized pipes, hand pumps, electrical system, chlorination units, while enhancing a solar hybrid power system to ensure sustainability. For Greenville, the LWFC will rehabilitate and expand water system for the city's river and construct a 17.14 kilometers of new transmission and distribution lines. Rehabilitate the 350 meter square elevated storage tank, install iron removal and chlorination system, and solar power plant with backup generators. In Plibo, to experience the drill of 3 high-yield boreholes with solar power pumps, the construction of a 350 meter square steel water tower, lay 10 kilometers of distribution pipelines, and establish 200 plus household connections. The National Transit Authority started to release the new buses, and I could just see through the eyes of faith that some of the handful of people who were entering the buses. That's a paradox. You get angry about something and one of the first things the other day we were on a football field to formally turn on the floodlight. And when the speaker turned the light on, you know, in such a darkness and the nature of the light, it was just a creation where God said, let there be light, and there was light. And the place erupted into celebration. Then we realized a small group of people in something like one of the doing boo, boo. But at the highest of elevation of the cheering, they vanished in thin air. But as I said, the question, who gets angry and boo at progress? What is happening to people who doing that? I was just looking at the press structure and coming from somewhere along the Republic Highway side to straight across street. The fare was $450 LD. In the MTA arrangement, it's $150. Just think about that for a minute. Somebody who's supposed to come to town, they have some reason to come to town, whether for school, for work, for whatever. Maybe they're doing it 5 days a week or 6 days a week. Minus 150 from 450. You got $300 there. It means that the person will come into town 5 times a week is 300 times 5. How much is that? 1,500. That the person was already spending every week cannot be used to do something else, because at 450 they were spending all the time to come to town has been reduced to just 150. If that does not fit into all the laws about bread and butter, then what it is? People coming from far the distances and they're paying $50. That's what the MTA is calling for. So they have the new press structure, and the buses are available there in the street. Watching one of the naysayers, they did a video, and according to them, in their video they say the bus was twisted. Look at the bus is making noise for. In the video, the person giving narration. It is the 2 days fee. Yeah. Then they start seeing the body buses for the boy. $10,000 per bus. Jesus Christ. Even renting cars in Europe, Asia, anywhere, you can say 10,000. So that tells you where some people are. Thanks about everything. Find ways to make it negative. It's okay. When you tell your own and say, go be friends. The society cannot choose to be negative. This morning I was reviewing the papers. And I saw my home begin with Brother Thompson. The whole story he told me the MICAT press release. Is what? MICAT go up and one employee talk about welfare. Now Brother Thompson told the story. When these things can carry us, plenty people came and talk, plenty people talk. The only thing you're looking for, because one in that kind of hard question I want to stop with that. Hey, right. And the other people you doing it also, but that's alright, that's part of the democracy. Somebody who is not even a sign, I just saw one thing running around saying, treating your body in a appalling condition. How did the person even surface to where they were before? Margaret, who went to that entity, says she's not able to go. You tell the person to go there. One day, the first day the person comes. That's not journalism. Let's do better for our country. Most of the things we're talking about are for us. I'm almost 60. I don't have my age. Many of you are still young. Making the country better is about you. Not the man who already walking into his final joint. Because we human beings, we bathe, we are born, we grow, we are die. You can't escape it. You know anybody can die, including young baby. But the one whose aging is going gradually to the end of his stay here. You holding off after constant, you are expected to be here longer. Don't join people to demonize the country. Because the demonization of the country keeps it backward. If the country is backward, you live there, you can't be different. Everything will be backward. You have a leader who's honestly striving. Nobody is perfect. We're not creating any heavens yet. But we're making honest strive to change what has been the issues yet. People inherited MTA with just 2 batting buses. Through their own innovation, they were 11 functional because they got suspended by they were working. Now they're adding a fleet of up to 60. And as we're driving to work, coming people comfortably seated. I hope they can maintain it because in those buses, I think it's fan system or air condition, whatever it is. We have that comfort. If we improve our maintenance history, we can keep that going. People who are being stuck out in little buses, sweating profusely. They know some of the diseases that one of us as human beings can be spread through their sweat. You don't know what kind of sickness like they're just keeping together their sweat tension. I'm told that one of the ways hepatitis B can be spread. They don't know somebody there hepatitis B and there's these interventions will change that. Whether they're making somebody angry. So from Red Lake straight to Broad Street, that bus has there $50. Number 4, Bengal County. Red Lake to Buchanan Street, $50. Douala to Buchanan Street, $50. New Georgia to Broad Street, $50. Bowmansville to Broad Street, $50. From Abel to Monroe, $150. Boys Town to Broad Street, $150. From Poor River to Douala, $50. From Monroe straight to Zwed, $4,500.
Wow.
To Banda, $400. To Buchanan, $300. To Bogorosa, $500. To Ganta, $500. Straight to Fonjama, $3,500. To Settler Pier, $950. To Sunny Point, $900. From Prebo to Harbor, $100. To Blackpool, $500. This is transformative. Like it or not. But yeah, some of the other positives that people are not talking about. They've adopting a policy where some people will be free riders. Not only that those who are paying cheap money, but some people will be free riders. And at present, that free ride policy applies to national security personnel who are in uniform. They have ID to be identified. So persons living with disability and to children under the age of 5. Free welfare system somewhere. The MTA wants to also inform us citizens that they are discussing currently to expand the list of eligible groups that can ride free in the coming months. And those under consideration include senior citizens who are 65 and above, medical practitioners, if you can celebrate this thing, that's only happening.
Say Janet won't be there.
But it makes sense. Absolutely, it makes sense. As somebody who worked in this sector dealing with journalists for the past decade, I know the institution some of you work for don't even pay you $50. Probably the highest paid journalist in this room will be $75 or $100.
No, you're going far.
It's too high? Over true?
Yes.
Let Polo. How many making? See that? You want no bottle of future salary. But you, the agent of transparency, want higher salary. There are always those who are probably to fake money problem. But there's some people here making plenty money as you claim. Yeah.
And start now. Yeah.
By the way, we are just trying to establish the fact that our country is making progress. Challenges remain. We're confronting them head on. We're very convinced that we will overcome. And by the time you go to your next election where you have a choice to choose what you want, you will be able to look back and say it wasn't easy. Some people here inquire, you know that song. It wasn't easy. But what? You will say that. And many of our people who are in difficult places sitting and trying to reincarnate the imagination of sitting by the rivers of Babylon, where you are required to sing the Lord's song in a strange land. You overcome, and you'll be able to come back to your motherland because you have conditions improved. And rather than sinking by the rivers of Babylon, you'll be sinking oil, Liberia. The journey is on. We, as a ministry, has the obligation to commentate the journey that a sports commentators would do at a football match. But no matter how we commentate the game, without you, nobody hears the commentary. And that's how important your role is. Be truth tellers. Don't see by and have it. But don't be disingenuous and mischievous. Because if you do so, and it impacts the country negatively, you are not hanging in the sky. You hear it. And anything that happens here will also impact you. So we want to take a rest from here and allow for the normal. I got many issues that we discussed about. We have some updates in the health sector, but I wanted to also be able to engage. So we leave the health sector issue until the next press conference day. You see this volume of paperwork in my hand, and the other things we still here to talk about. But it's already 1:22. We have to take questions. JLBC will leave on time to get the news. So we continue from where we start on Thursday, but we can now rest and allow you to ask questions.
So we just listened to Honorable Joe Matthew Beer, Minister of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. So once again, if you just joined us, I would like to say welcome. This is ELBC 99.9 FM. Keep following this is questions and answers by journalists.
His name is Judge Matthew Beer. He's the Minister of Information and Tourism. But as they move to immigration services,
So many thanks to Mr. Pia for update. But I want to use the time to, just maybe call the government attention to this. Part of talking about government issues and some national issues. And in the meantime, in the night, you have a very clear, environment in terms of the light and all of that. But when you cross the bridge, maybe from Varda straight to New Georgia Junction, even going to New Georgia to Panazo, the entire place that is the government informed about this? If so, what is the government doing to make that sound like a syndrome of living? Thank you.
My name is Joseph Seli, and I'm ready for the newspaper.
You know that originally again. Why you make
You provided updates on your visit at PLDC, and I want to know, is the board concerned with the viral video from the Director General, because the state broadcast incorporation is an institution that can give every argument all of which political party or who you support. Is the board concerned? And key to that, is there any contract between the LES and an institution called Blue Star Military Group? Is there any contract between them to use a space of ELPC to carry on their job, since you said you are conducting your own investigation or so you went there, there's no gambling center at that place? And third and lastly, the head of this Civil Servant Association of Liberia president talked about salary increment, and he said, why the government should now focus on including everybody and not just elected. You are concerned with the government with that, because looking at it, you are insisting that the government are putting the place to include both civil servants. Are you guys anticipating of increasing the salary of more like because that was one of the key messages of the government during the elections? Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Jackson Alexia Park, and I report your scientific insight from this newspaper. Mr. Minister, you spoke well, but the public will be in doubt of the total cost of the new NTA buses. And another concern I've listened to during these few days is that people been complaining that the same fare, the public transport, the carabin, as the people usually call it, the same fare that people are taking is the same fare. That's $50 from New Jersey, Banana to Central Monrovia. And that's the same fare NTA is. Okay, what's the difference about it? The last question here is about the budget. What is your government doing to make sure that there will be no shortfall? Thank you.
What's your name?
Jackson Siafa. My name is Moses Davidson in our group of Thank you for never waiting on government development and also aligning local national issues. My concern have been drawn to the issue of the potholes on the major road. Over the past time, we observed vehicle plying the road leading from Canada, the Morgan Canada Highway. We observed top government officials plying that road to travel to the nearby counties. But the issue about the potholes causing the extraction and accident, even leading to all people losing their life. If you check, if you ply the road from Morgan, somewhere around Division 20N on the Canada Morgan Highway, there was a pothole there causing serious extraction. And even at time, if people plying that road, the moment they enter that platform, the potholes, they cause extraction. Time fire. So what are the measures the government of Liberia put in place in order to eradicate the potholes on that road?
Good afternoon, RS. Today I will vote for Legend News Africa. I have for the first time Legend News Africa. Yes. Yeah, so, Mr. Minister, thank you for the development. But I have for the first time a recommendation to national government concerning the policy that is to be instituted where there will be facilities to have a free run. So my recommendation is that though the security people they are providing services, but they too they are paying salaries every month in. So part of that I want to recommend to national government that the security people be taking and the appropriate needs should be prioritized. Thank you.
Thank you. To remove the security people from there?
Yes. Yes.
No, they can look for you.
My name is Justin, and I report for Democratic Watch newspaper. Mr. Minister, I just do the future spokesperson of the government. It is important for we as members of the folk estate to highlight the president's speeches, especially when it is necessary. The president made a remark on the first opening of the Reform Conference, and part of what the president said, two things I capture. One is that the negotiation period of obtaining road contracts is it's too long to say African presidents have six years in office. You negotiate for almost 4 years. When they get secure, sometimes 2 years left, you cannot complete the project. So he was also talking about the African development reform should see our best to expand on that, to revisit the two projects. And that also the issue about giving two contracts, as in giving one continent to almost 10 to 5 kilometers of stretch, which is in his opinion that it could be the delay of the road being completed at a particular period. So I'm interested to know as to whether, considering most of our road projects in Liberia, they are donors, they are loan from the African Development Bank and that of the World Bank. Is the government probably concerned to do an official, maybe official recommendations to World Bank or African Development Bank to say, look, partners, can you revisit this agreement, especially this negotiation period, so that we as African presidents, we have 6 years, so that we can be able to achieve on this road project. And last time, Mr. Minister, the few months back, I can remember the 4 months back when I asked about those abandoned structures along the Rafi Highway, and you said you will get back to the public. I don't know whether you have reached out to the National Housing Authority, and what is the status of those structures, because they are still abandoned as I speak currently. Thank you. Thank you. My name is Darius Kanga, and we go for OK.
Minister intently commend the government for the progressive plan. But I'm concerned about the ruler between Puebla and other villages. I think I read the communication from the District 3 law because according to him, it's the second time sending communication to the public to face that law. But yet it was still in bad condition. How or where did otherwise stand to answer for this question? Thank you.
Leave on that side.
Please restate your question. I think
Where did Thank you. I leave that.
So just listen to a question by journalists. This is response by Honorable TrueLiberia Matthew Pierre, Ministers of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. So once again, if you are just joining us, I would like to say welcome to this live coverage. I'm coming to you live at the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. Keep following.
I will keep my comments on the deliberate because tomorrow, at 11 o'clock, we hold this meeting on the ODC conference. We will look at several issues with regards to the ODC. And it's important to really get into that now so we have our board. My visit yesterday, like I said, also see how far we are with the new broadcast complex, and also to see for myself the place being described as a casino, and to hold some briefings with the leaders there, and also as a way of preparing for tomorrow's board meeting. So we'll leave it there. So a lay prophet who asked this question was a lay prophet. And when I'm going home in the night, I don't see utter darkness between Vata to Freeport. I don't know about when you jump on the Somalia to outside the ground, I don't remember when last I passed there in the night. But when you're going straight down, yes, you may not have had the new solar lights that are lined up in central Monrovia, but there are a number of light poles around that road. I don't know what the source of the energy is, whether it's an AC lamp or what, but they own. Even the bridge itself, when I cross the bridge, every night the whole bridge is lighted. But the thing for you to know is the solar street light electrification that is currently going on is going everywhere. Everywhere. And they can go way in the bush inside G4 road. And I even put that at Dusty Road. The street light is from the main road straight to the end, the place I give the place in the called G4. Then you know the Freeport Road, which is a major corridor, it's on the main street. It will also have lights. The lights will be everywhere. We got enough in the country to electrify everywhere. And another light that will be the Christmas light. Those light can lifespan of between 13 to 25 years. Durable. We just got to play our own part as citizens. And I say so because you know sometimes when they put it in there, the same citizen can go and take it down. Maybe we'll go set it as trap or something. So if all of us play our part, the government put it there, citizens to help to protect it. Trust me, before the end of this year, you're not going to pass anywhere to see darkness. Maybe there are when we change Monrovia to be called the city of light. Maybe. So we note your concern, but wherever we find the gaps, we'll resolve them as a government. We have intentionally evaluated all the options before we submitted the budget. The finance minister has assured the cabinet that when the budget is part of the scope that they have proposed, there'll be no budget shortfall. But let's say, since the legislature got the final power, let's say they take it from 1.2 billion to 1.4 billion. Probably on account of identifying other sources of revenue. Or reach out up when then the finance minister also got to tell us, but said they took it from there up over the bureau to achieve the avoidance budget shortfall. But one thing they said, which I can say to you, is that what they submitted, with that what is passed, they will raise the revenue. But just think about this. Government after government, there's always a recast of the national budget. Did you see a recast in here? Recast sometimes can be for a reason. The projections you made, you realize were high, you know you will not raise what you said you will raise. So when you say that the budget law, when you do that, it means money you're supposed to go in different places, you know you will not achieve it, so you come back and recast. The reason why we did not recast this budget was because the budget was performing and we knew we were being the target. That's the first sign of improvement. So they evaluated the numbers, they checked all the numbers, they checked everything. They look at the sources of land that's supposed to contribute to that 1.2 billion budget. And then they say authoritatively we can raise this. We who are members of the cabinet and members of the government cannot doubt what the experts in the area have said. So we believe them and we think we can meet the target. What would apparently up to what we're talking about, Chief? We acknowledge that there are places that have pop holes. It's a common thing, even in the West, those who live in the West. Because of the weather system there, you know, there's a whole period where they call it winter. So the car roads are covered by snow. The roads are not meant to keep snow, so it can cause some damage. So every time you graduate from winter to the other seasons, you do road maintenance work. To include potholes, crack, cement or quota, everything. So frankly, part of the problem we've had in the past, which the current government is trying to resolve, is our maintenance record have been poor. Redmond Cower Road is being uprooted completely. They rooted the whole quota out of Liberia because you can't repair anymore. When the potholes were coming, we were maintaining it every year, year after year, it would not have reached where it is for us to have the need to rebuild it. And that was one of the reasons why we established the road fund. The road fund was basically, or is basically meant to just maintain the road, including if there are potholes, if you want to add sidewalk to a road, etc., etc. But because it is performing, we can also expend some of the resources not only on maintenance, but on building roads. And we just said to you for the first time, they alone raised 31 million in one budget year, from way down to 14 million. So these are all indications that yes, we solve these perennial problems that we are facing all over the place. Larry said we should remove the security people from the president of Liberia. It makes sense. The president women factor it makes sense, but I don't know what our being agreement with removing the security people. You know, one of the things that people do in America, the people who serve for the police, army, they treat them with so much respect. They have specialized hospital they call veteran hospital. Once you serve the army, you're not there anymore, they refer to you as veterans. They take care of you, you go to that hospital free. There are so many other benefits they give you free. The pay structure of those people very good. Our resources are not able us to pay the security people plenty of money. So if we give them opportunities and think that free ride on national transport system, I think is understandable. It'll be important. I mean, I agree with you that we are others, but I'm not sure we want to remove security. And we must have to go there every night. We don't even know what happens ourselves. Many of them, they are at checkpoints where they sleep under the rain, under the cold, under the mosquito. While you are having fun time out there. This one, you see, a beggar does not have choice. When you ask the World Bank, you ask the African Development Bank, that they will give you their money to pay your roads. They got their requirement. What the president is saying is that if that requirement is too long, we're begging you to revisit to make it a little bit easier. So that the time we take to do just processes alone, can undermine our development drive. But at the same time, we can negate the fact that what they do for us is important. When we started building the road from Harbour straight to Cleveland now, all the way up to Fishtown, the African Development Bank support. What we want to do from Buchanan to Sester Junction and eventually to the entire Southeast using the coastal side, the initial source of support we have is the African Development Bank. And we're building the road from Monrovia straight to Buchanan City for the World Bank money. The same with the road leading from Monrovia to Guinea. So yes, we always need them. And we have to respect their own processes and procedures. We hope they listen to make some adjustments. But no matter how they adjust, they will always have those conditions to apply. And I think the message that President Parker is sending to make them better so that they can help fast track development. And if they listen, they're going to be fun not just for America, but for the entire African continent. Yes, I've seen the Pueblo Road, Comrade Darrows. It's a bad road. It's a part of the roads we want to fix. We're facing the roadway in the bush. Because of a Pueblo that right in the river. That road will now remain like that up to the end of the dry season. It's going to be rehabilitated. So that Liberians too who live there can enjoy the benefits of good road. I think those are all the questions you asked. Thank you for coming. It is through you that we get our messages out. All the outlets are here. There's a good thing. State broadcaster, as always, doing a great job. Thank you, Charles, and your team. I forget the name except from Spoon. Tell me, man. Haji is always here. KTV.
Yeah.
And
The Homeland TV.
oh, the Homeland.
Chris TV.
Chris TV.
Whis.
Oh, Weeks. Who get it on? What? Global? Okay. And who get it on? Miracle TV. Who get it on? Well, Miracle. Who get it on? Royal TV. Who get it small? This whole one, everybody.
What do you want?
White TV. White TV. Right. And who get it on? Oh, MICAT. They want. Oh, LTV.
No red one in my office.
There are two there.
Scholar Africa.
Oh, Scholar Africa. Yeah. I always see benefits from you. Who get it on?
So this is the cost of the courses.
Okay. And you?
Dominion TV.
Dominion. So what we're just trying to do was not to make reference to only the ones that know. I wanted the public to know all of you who contributed to carry the thing live, to know your name. That's why I'm asking you. All of you, jointly, thank you for the sacrifices you made to cover the press conference so that Liberian people can get. Mopula, see you on the camera.
I was doing my inside that room.
Oh.
Inside.
Okay.
Inside.
All right, then, no wrap up.
Inside.
All right. No, I can't wrap up. All right, wait.